Happy Sunday, apprentices. Hey, is your personal problems dragging down your trading balance? Mine is. That's what we're going to talk about on today's show. What are you drinking over there, Matt?
Welcome to Day Trading Plumber, episode 36. I'm Matt Simpson, but you're here for the long-winded millionaire maker.
Troublemaker. So second week, is it our second? Yeah, second week in our journeyman trading signal service that we started 2 weeks ago. No, it's the third week. First losing week in our third week. But, we had some wins. We had some losses. I gave back a good portion of last week's huge win. And, when deciding what to talk about tonight, it was pretty obvious to me that we should spend some time talking about how your personal life can find its way into your trading life. And what I mean is, I haven't shared with our listeners or my followers what I've been going through since December of 2020, where my wife and I are splitting up, trying to sell my house, going through a separation agreement, separating all my assets, and that can take its toll on an individual. And this was probably the first week I really saw those personal issues really find its way into my trading ability. And it's not that you make stupid mistakes or veer from your strategies, but the most important part of trading is what happens after you open that trade. And when you're going through personal issues or when you're not so confident, and I would really put an emphasis on that word confidence, that's when you make mistakes. And this week's a perfect example. I put trades on with sound, quality, strategy, rule-based reasoning, but they didn't turn out as well only because of the mindset that I'm in and the confidence level, not so much in the trading strategy, just in, fear takes over and you're like, look, I really can't have a bad week of trading. Not this week. Not the week I moved my wife and kids out into a new house. Not the week that I have to, show my home 13 times, put a new roof on when I'm moving out. That's going to cost me, and then find a new place to live as I'm closing all my investment accounts so we could separate those assets, right? This is not the week to have bad trades. Well, I'm going to tell you, when you stamp that prerequisite on that trade, even though it's the same system or same trading strategies you've been using, when it starts to move against you, and one of the things I preach all the time is every trade you put on is going to move against you. It's, the ones that don't, I just chalk up as, wow, it happened my way perfectly this time. But normally they're going to move against you, and that's fine. That's what we prepare for. But when you're going through these personal issues, whether it be work, whether it be your marriage, whether it be your kids are fighting, whether it be, your kid got in trouble today at school, and that's what's weighing on your mind, it just amplifies that stress that comes. and this week it wasn't like we had a horrible week. We started out with some bad trades that carried over from last week. Um, but the ability to fight out of those trades and execute rollover trades and deal with the drawdown against you, it's tough. And like I shared with all the members in the group last night in our live event, uh, you know, it's really hard to engage. And when you're in that moment, if you can recognize it, what you should be able to recognize it, um, this is when trading, even though it's my career, it's probably a good time to just back away and keep your fingers on the pulse of the market, but maybe reduce your trade size, don't trade at all, whatever it is. And it's been a pretty slow week in the channel, and I apologize that for the subscribers. But I think all of us humans can understand, you know, you can't always be perfect. And if anything, trading has taught me trying to be perfect is what's gonna ultimately end you up in trouble. Perfect with your injuries, perfect with your take profits, perfect with your stop losses. And we can't always be perfect personally either. So, I chose to make our podcast tonight, about what personal things can do to your trading account. And if you don't recognize them early, and you don't acknowledge them, how they can linger and just start to just really amplify all of those trades. And more than likely they're going to end up in a negative position, and it's just going to really start to play havoc on your confidence level. I mean, I know it has this week for me. I've been through weeks like this before. I would say the first week after I quit my job. Sorry, I had to take a drink there.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking cheap Kentucky whiskey on ice.
Whiskey with an E. Yeah.
Whiskey. But yeah, the first week after I quit my job and became full-time guy should have been an exciting week, but actually it was a depressing week. Because I was turning a page, and it was, turning a page and something you've done for 23 years. Go in 4 a.m., you work out, you have a schedule, you have people to answer to, you have, a process that you are involved in. That took some time to get used to. And, I get a lot of people are like, dude, you're living the American dream. You quit your job, you work for yourself, you trade for a living, you make a great living. And, but like what we discussed before is it's change, and change is hard. It's difficult. And, now going through, a separation, selling your house, it's going to be a big change. And, it's nothing no one's gotten through, but as those events come into your life and as those events start to emotionally affect you, trading is one of those things. You can't just keep on doing the same old thing. It's going to affect you. And the quicker you could acknowledge that and deal with it, the better off you're going to be in your trading. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses like this week all the trades were solely because of emotions. But I can say the outcomes. And, you know, a perfect example would be every trade I put on that we took a loss on this week, if I would have been patient, if I would have had the confidence in my system that normally I have, if I would have waited a day, day and a half longer before closing those positions, they would all turned out to be 0.5% to 1% winners, which everything I preach on this show, everything I preach in my courses is give your trades room. Don't panic when things are going against you. Have the confidence in your systems because you've done the back testing, you've done the forward testing. You know, I planted this seed in a decent position, and even though it's going against me now, if I can wait out the storm, it will come back at least to break even. And due to all the stress and all of the newness and changing, that just became overwhelming and difficult for me to do this week. And I went back through every trade, my trading journals this week. And every trade we took those losses on became winners by Wednesday night. Every one of them. So I didn't have to give back that 4% on Monday. I didn't have, which we made back half of it. And even then, when I posted good trading ideas on TradingView, I didn't take those trades because the fear of, oh man, I don't want to get in a deeper hole. And I know mentally I'm not in the right place. Maybe I'm seeing something that's not there. Those trades were good. So I guess what I'm trying to tell our listeners tonight, like when you're going through something personal, when you're having something keep you awake at night that's not a trade that you have on that, you know, is going against you, maybe the best scenario is, you know, take a step back, lower those position sizes, you know, give yourself some perspective. I chose tonight or this week to not record any of the massively pressure or pressing get these courses that I'm trying to get out to our viewers and followers. 2 weeks ago, I was like, man, this is going to be the production week. This is going to be the week I hammer out 15 hours of video courses. But, you know, it just turned into that week where I got to start showings again. I moved my kids and my wife out. So I knew, man, this probably isn't a good week to try to film a trading course for that's going to be online for people to take, you know, months later. And it's the same thing for trading. You know, I didn't get involved in a lot of trades this week. Obviously, I traded defensively and we did quite well. We reduced our drawdown from you know, over 5% down to almost 0.5% by Friday. But we took a losing week, and that's okay. Because one of the things we got to learn as traders, losing is part of the game. And, you know, a lot of people out there put that in as stop losses. Like you need to set a reasonable stop loss and take those losings part of the game. Well, the style I trade with no stop losses and the rollover strategy and the ability to work my way out of those positions, which works out more often than it doesn't, it's kind of the same concept. You know, where most traders will choose Only because mathematically, if you don't choose a stop loss, you don't know what your percent that you're risking, which just really doesn't settle well with a lot of traders because we're all taught the same way. Don't risk more than 1% of your account and choose a strategy that has at least over a 50% win percentage. And if all of your wins are 1.5 times what you risked, you will be a winner. And yes, if you look at trading as a mathematical challenge, that is exactly what you need to do. If you look at trading as you're going to turn the tide, you're going to be able to do the right thing at the right time, which is really hard to train yourself to do. And it takes years and years of experience and being in those scenarios. You can release all of those ties, those you must do this. You must know your risk at every trade. And I hear that over and over again when I tell people I don't put stop losses on. They're like, "Well, how do you calculate your risk?" I don't need to, because I know I'm going to do the right thing when it comes. And just like that British pound Swiss franc trade we took in the Journeyman channel at the end of last week on a really good week, and it's gone scary against us. But I targeted certain zones. I targeted certain levels as it was moving against us. All right, it's probably going to go to the R2 on the hourly. It's probably going to double top. And, if it doesn't, then I got to reevaluate. But if it does, that's when I'm going to strike. And taking that train of thought normally and statistically nets me better results, higher win percentage. So then I can allow myself to take profit early and not be so worried about calculating risk, which we're all trained into thinking money management. You got to have your money management down, and all that stuff's true. But if you're going to become a good trader, if you're going to become a trader that develops into what really fits for you, you've got to taste everything and you've got to try different things, hopefully not with something that's not risk capital and on a demo account. And then you find your way. And for me, I don't give up on trades too early. And when they go against me, I fight back. And more often than not, it works.
When I ask you what you're drinking, you're supposed to ask me what I'm drinking.
Oh, what are you drinking, Matt?
Very nice. Let's see if you can pronounce it.
I noticed there's no ice in there. Lapahoreg.
Try again.
Lapahoreg.
Is that your answer?
Lap. There's lap. And then there's horeg. Horig. Lapahoreg. Yeah, how would you pronounce it?
Lafroig.
Lafroig. It's, what is it, German?
How is Scots German?
I don't know. Maybe the Germans are moving in on the whiskey and Scotch movement.
It's peaty. It tastes like fire from the gods. It's one of my favorites.
Well, good for you, man. Does it have a cherry wood?
No cherries. No cherries. It's from the southern coast of Islay. Of Isla, excuse me.
Is it a Protestant whiskey or is it?
They're Scotch, dude. They're
Scottish.
Scots. Excuse me, they're Scots.
Yeah, I never knew there was I was gifted a bottle of whiskey when I worked for the luxury brand hotel. And Irishman came in my office and he's like, is that a Protestant whiskey? Because I guess in Ireland, there's whiskey from one religion and there's whiskey from another. And it's a big thing over there. So,
Yes, it's a big thing. Do you think that people experience trading fatigue?
yes. Um, the more and more you dig into trading, and I want to go back to when people get into trading. Well, I guess people like me, right? People that when they get into something, they do a lot of research. They read every book that they can find. They watch YouTube videos. They're taking in all this content and perspectives, and they're putting through their own filters, and they're forming their own opinions. Well, there's millions of opinions. There's millions of strategies. There's millions of people to follow. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to you got to find who you trust, who to follow, and then how do you form those own opinions? That can fatigue someone. Part of the reason why I struggled a lot this week is when I was looking at charts, even though I've been looking at the same strategies and trading the same strategies, and it's no secret I'm a reversion of mean type trader, meaning I look for when price veers far from its mean, its average, its pivot, its normalcy, and I trade back to it, and I look for price action or certain indications that it's going to start moving that way, contrary to whatever the trend is, by the way, which will just probably lose half of our listeners because, oh my God, the trend's your friend. And you have to know if price is above the 200 EMA, you only look for buy trades. And if price is below the 200 EMA, you only look for sell trades. Well, I don't give a shit, right? And maybe that's why I've been as successful as I have been, because I'm not doing what the normal, what everyone's told to do, which statistically will end you up with only 5% of people win. Now, don't get me wrong. I take trend in as a reference, but when you're reviewing, because it's no secret I'm building these training courses, and through the apprentice courses, I'm trying to give people perspectives of popular strategies, teach them those strategies with the Clayton twist. And I'm also, looking at strategies that I use and don't use and trying to give people different variations of those. So when you're doing that, you get like zoned in on these other strategies. And then when I'm looking at charts, I'm like thinking of 5 or 6 strategies. So that can fatigue you. And ultimately, at the end of the day, guys, when you put a trade on, when you hit that button, you made a choice. And now that you're in that choice, it becomes this, am I the type of person that I am so vigilant at trying to be right as opposed to wrong? And I would tell you a lot of those trade mistakes I made this week were more of that than what strategy I was using. It was, oh my God, how confident am I to wait out this period of drawdown? How confident am I that I made the right decision? And so many traders fall into that, especially in the early phases, because they know they don't know. And they know they haven't been a successful trader for a while. And they know what some YouTube video they watched just now contradicts what they feel is right. So when they're in that trade and it's moving against them, they're like, shit, I was wrong. And I'm going to tell you guys, that's a natural feeling to have. What I would tell you don't do is close the trade and reverse your position because it's just going to go bad for you. Like, for instance, when we were reviewing the notes for tonight's show, you put in there British pound JPY, which is one of my go-to pairs for scalp trading, and especially on Fridays. Because the markets tend to slow down, and that pair is always pretty active. And this Friday I had a little making up to do, which can get you in trouble because you're telling yourself, oh, I need to make up. I need to end the week on a positive note, not a negative note. And, I entered a trade that price was bouncing on the 200 EMA, which normally would tell you it's in an uptrend. It just hit the bottom. You should trade up. Well, I put a sell trade in only because one of my favorite strategies is price when it hits the pivot midweek. It more than likely is going to go back down if it's in a downtrend to the R2. And the R2 is probably 50 pips below the 200 moving average. So I was looking for a bounce off the moving average and then a continuing its downtrend down to the R2 level on the hourly chart. And so that's why I sold it. Well, guess what? It went 50 pips against me almost instantly. And I'm not going to lie, I panicked a little bit because I was like, I'm already losing this week. Now I just got in a shitty trade. I just got drawdown to a reasonable level. Now we're right back there. Well, I took a couple deep breaths and I went back to my good old, let's not panic. Let's evaluate every step of the way. And guess what? It moved back. It moved to profit. And I took 0.5% profit off of it. But I will tell you that emotional roller coaster I went through for that hour and a half, I waited for it to come back to break even, caused me to close the trade early. And guess what it did 2 hours after I closed it? It got to R2, which would have been enough of a win to end the week flat and probably only 0.5% down. So, I could only compute these mistakes that I normally wouldn't make to the personal stress that I'm under. It's not every day you're getting separated and moving your wife and kids out of your house after 11 years and dealing with your neighbors. Oh, did you sell your house? Oh, what's going on? And then trying to find a new place to live, knowing that you're right in the middle of trying to run a business and create some training courses. But this is all those things that build you up to who you're going to be. And one of the things that I really preach is, I really hate when people take that victim status. When, oh my God, this happened to me, and that's why I've just gone into this mode for a while. I mean, I get it. Depression's a real thing. And bad weeks will happen and bad things will happen to you. But if you really take on that mindset that, hey, this is a temporary kick to the balls, but overall, I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to survive, and I'm going to keep forging forward. Trading is no different.
Shameless plug. If you want an easy, lazy way to track Clayton's performance, each week we put his journeyman results in the newsletter. To get on the newsletter, all you have to do is go to allenfx.com, submit your information. You're on the list, and you'll get our newsletter each week.
Right. And we won't send you a bunch of bullshit emails.
And we'll never sell your information. I hate that.
Right. One of the things I talk about all the time in my Zoom meetings with our listeners and people from around the world now, thank you. Is I make my money from trading. And a lot of people out there, have switched. They may have been a trader. Now they sell courses. Now they, make their revenue from selling courses. And, it's not like I'm not looking to turn a profit from selling these courses or doing the services that I do. I definitely am. But at the end of the day, I'm a trader, and I trade for a living. And that's why I choose to share my results publicly. And I get a lot of criticism from other trading educators. And because trading, it's not always perfect. It's not. And when you share your results and you put your trades on the line and out there for everyone to see, a lot of people will think in those early stages like, oh, well, shit, he's not making 100% a month like this guy says he is. Or look, he had two bad weeks in a row, but I'm going to tell you guys, if you're going to listen to someone to help you through your trading stages, and if they're not willing to open their hearts, open their life up, and open, their own trading accounts, don't follow them. And, if you find someone who may even have a losing record, but they're willing to show you, that's a person to follow. That's a person to listen to.
Has the conversation changed since the plague?
Yes, I think there's an overwhelming amount of people out there who are in this desperate search for instance, I talked to an optometrist the other day. He's been running his own business for 30 years. He's a very intelligent person. He's a doctor. He has plenty of risk capital, and he has been just kicked in the balls with this COVID. I think we're going to call this the COVID depression.
The China virus depression?
Right. Because like what we're going to see at the tail end of this thing is 80% of small businesses may go bankrupt. Restaurant owners, optometrists who are forced to shut down their clinics because it's elective surgery. And now, they're struggling to keep their business alive because, a lot of people think like when you become a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, you have a great job. Well, some of those people are entrepreneurs in spirit, and to really make money in those fields, to really make that real money, you got to be the engineer who started the firm. You got to be the doctor who runs his own practice. You got to be the lawyer who runs his own practice. And guess what comes with that, guys? All of the same shit that comes with any other business: employees, HR,
Cash flow.
cash flow. Just like I preach with running a trading business, it's not immune to the same shit that happens. You're gonna have to deal with marketing, bad days. You know, just like when I preach
Producers.
about right, just like when I preach about running an automated system, right, a trading system. Like I run the Wally system. Yes, the robot does the heavy lifting. It plants seeds for you. It scans the charts for you. It waits for the rule bases that you give it. It works tirelessly with that, never sleeping, 24 hours a day. It doesn't ask for a raise. It doesn't go through a divorce and get emotional. It doesn't need Christmas off. It doesn't have a daughter who doesn't want to come over to his house because Nani's here. It doesn't have any of that bullshit. And that's an amazing thing to have. But I will tell you,
Nani is grandma.
right, you're still the CEO of that system, and you are still the one that's going to have to make the tough decisions, just like any other business. You are going to have to decide when enough's enough and close trades, take the loss, and you're going to have to manage that inventory. You are going to have to get involved and see problems early. So it's just like when you are looking to buy a business and it's like totally absentee business. You don't even have to come into the office. Are you kidding me? I mean, no, there's no such thing. But yes, since this COVID thing, there's been a lot of people have reached out to me, a lot of people searching for getting into day trading, and they're finding this podcast and getting into, Forex, because the bear to entry is a lot smaller than equities. I mean, let's just face it, because you're trading with leverage, but that comes with a great responsibility. Trading with leverage you must know what you're doing. It's you're not only risking your capital, you are taking on someone else's capital with your trades. Now, don't get me wrong, the liquidity providers and brokers have very strong algorithms and safe safe levels where they'll hopefully cut you off before you owe them money. But this is why I'm building these courses, so I could take someone an optometrist who has been a doctor his whole career and has the risk capital, but does not have the knowledge to take control of a small portion of his risk capital and push the buttons. He's going to go through that apprentice course, which here's how you open a demo account. Here's how you do it the right way. Here's some simple strategies to practice and start learning what kind of trader are you going to be. Here's how you deal with when your wife kicks you in the fucking balls in the midweek when you're trading. That's what you need to start learning in that phase. Then we move to the journeyman course, where you start learning complex discretionary strategies, where you start learning how to do rollover trades, where you start learning how to deal with trades go against you. And then, the master class is going to be all in how you automate it, how you give yourself a break as a trader, but you still have to be involved, and you're going to have to rely on that discretionary experience. And when you need to step in as the CEO, how you handle it and how you move forward. And yes, losses are part of it, but overall, if you could squeeze out 1% gains on average over 7 years, like I have,
Per
you
week.
can be a successful trader.
Would you ever, that's 1% per week that you're looking for.
1% per week for 7 years.
Would you ever send back food in a restaurant or ask to speak to the manager if you're unhappy with the quality of the food?
You're talking about Karen. Absolutely not in the context that you just presented it. Now, if I'm unhappy with the service, or I ordered a T-bone and I got a filet, have I mentioned that just in the interactions with that waiter, and in a way that it's less confrontational? Yes. But I have never put myself where I'm the customer and I'm always right and I'm above you. Now, I'm not going to say I haven't made the issue, made the waiter aware and put him or her in that decision-making position where, are they going to make it right, or are they going to be unconfrontational or choose to, well, I heard filet, not T-bone. Okay, cool. I'll eat the filet. It's just what kind of person are you? And I get it, being a waiter, servicing people, 50 tables an hour a night, problems are going to come up. But me as the customer, the paying customer, I'll pick and choose whether it's appropriate or not. And I'll present it in a way where I give them an out, right? Like, hey man, I don't get me wrong, I love a filet, but I ordered a T-bone, and I'm not looking for anything, but just want to make you aware so this problem doesn't persist, or and then I see how they interact. I put the ball in their court. But I'm not going to be the Karen that's like, I ordered a T-bone and I'm expecting to talk to your manager, because when you put people in that scenario, like you're above them, in my opinion, it's just not right.
We talked about travel karma a few months ago. Restaurant karma. It's not gonna get you there. It may get you in a year or 2 years. But me, dude, I will never send back food, and I will never speak to the manager. I will ask the waiter questions, but I won't bring it up, because
and it's the right thing to do.
It's the professional establishment. They're adults. They don't need kumbaya meetings. They know that they have jobs to do. And I just won't ever go back. Now, I'm not about to get on Yelp and whine like a bitch and put a 1-star review and say I would give 0 stars, but you have to give 1. I'm never going to do that. And I'm not going to trash them all throughout the community. I just won't ever go back. You had your shot, and you blew it. And because I'm like that, it's very important to me that we take care of our clients, and that they know
Absolutely.
they know that we're genuinely grateful for their attention, and our listeners, of course. But I don't ever expect anybody to tell us what we're doing wrong, because I wouldn't tell a restaurant. I just wouldn't ever go back. I have other things to do. I'd rather play Xbox have a 20-minute conversation with a manager and then just call them. It's just not the right thing to do. Now, I brought this up again because I had this conversation with somebody who's a restaurant owner who owns a pizzeria.
Yeah.
You're right. And he say,
Is
well,
that a pizza
just give
with
us
a
a chance to
margarita?
fix it. And I'm like, no, dude, screw that. Like, you're not,
Well, I,
you know what you're supposed to do, and you know what your staff is supposed to do. I'm not going to crush you online or go out of my way or anything. I just won't go back.
right. Well, I want to make this point when referencing trading. Okay. When you follow the rules of a system that you're following and the trade doesn't go right, and you're that type of person that you're splurging and you go to the top steakhouse and you're expecting the perfect experience, and the waiter forgot that you wanted 2 spoons with your split pea soup, so you didn't have to share, eat your dessert with the same spoon, and you make a big deal about it. You're probably the type that in trading, you think because you learned the a strategy and you've back tested it came out probable that when it's not working for you, you fight and you just want to be right. And that's one of the most dangerous things to be as a trader, is you're holding on to that trade because you just have to be right. And being right really, really caters to your confidence and who you are as, your personality traits, or you just have to be right. Or if you find yourself in conversations where you disagree with someone politically, or whatever point they're making, and you just can't leave that conversation before you've done everything you can to convince them that you're right. Those are the dangerous people in trading, because you're playing in a market that anything could happen at any moment. And the contrary to what's supposed to happen typically is what happens with price. And when you are so dead set on being right that you have to call the manager because you're not getting what you wanted, and things are supposed to go my way because I'm the customer, it's not going to work out for you. And to get back to your point, Matt, with like our listeners and our followers and our clients, when you're providing a service for people, and I worked for one of the top heavily renowned service companies in the world. I mean, Four Seasons is known for their customer service, but they've taken a route where, and I saw it when I worked for them for many years, where people take advantage of that customer is right. And I used to tell my friends, like, hey man, walk into any Four Seasons, pay for a room, pay rack rate, which is going to be a lot, and then trim your fingernails, throw them in your bed, and tell them, oh my God, there's fingernails in my bed, and you're going to get upgraded and you're going to get a free dinner that night. And people know that, and they're going to take advantage of it. As far of the services that we're providing, I want to provide a quality service, and I know it's probably not the right thing to do, but with these courses that I'm putting together, if someone at the end of it is like, look, man, I didn't find any value, I'm going to give them their money back. I know I'll probably get taken advantage of. I know once you teach someone, they can't unlearn it. But at the end of the day, if someone's not happy with the quality of product, and they're not happy with what content I gave them, I'd much rather just get their feedback and try to learn from it and give them their money back, to avoid exactly what you're talking about, the Karens or the people saying, screw you, man, you're ripping people off. Because like I said, at the end of the day, I'm making my money through trading and trying to create a community of people who are like-minded individuals. It's gonna be hard to do that with the apprentice course or journeyman course, because it's just a course. You take it, you learn the strategies, you learn it, and but my master class, where I'm gonna go into automation, give people my EA and all my settings and my 10 years worth of hard work of preset automated settings, they won't get that, but I'll give them their money back after 6 weeks of trading with me and learning exactly how I manage that system.
Do you value money or status more?
That's the question, because a lot of people tie money to status.
Hang on, before you answer, let me qualify that question with the risk of sounding pompous. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've filled a passport or two, and I've seen a lot of really cool and a lot of really terrible things. But I'm grateful for all of those experiences. And one of the things that I learned by the time I was 28, so 10 years ago, was that money and class are not correlated. Some of the poorest people I've ever met have been some of the most gentlemanly and ladylike people that I would love to have around me. And of course, the opposite is true. I've met some wealthy pricks who are garbage people. So answer your question with that qualification. Answer my question with that qualification.
Well, a lot of people think they're correlated,
but they're not.
They're not. Just like you, I've experienced some of the most humble, welcoming, generous people on both sides. Now, I will tell you, most people that get into trading haven't done the exercise where they have really asked what's their why and what is their ultimate goal. One of the things I ask people is, okay, what's your goal with this trading venture that you are entering? Because you're new, you haven't done it. Well, I want to make money. And, that's fine. But if that is your why, you're going to be disappointed. Here's why. It's going to take 10 years before you are consistent in making money. You can shorten that time frame by taking on a mentor, taking courses, learning things on your own. But if money is what you're after to elevate your status, it's going to be a tough road. Like in my trading now, I don't even look at the amount of money, because let's just go through the scale. When you're trading a $10,000 account versus a $5 million account, and if you're tagged with money, it's going to change the way you trade those two different accounts. Because you make $10 on a $10,000 account. Is that the same rush or the same emotional feeling you're going to have if you make $50,000 on a $5 million account? If you can't separate those two feelings, you're going to have trouble as you scale up your account and as you are looking at your money management as opposed to your trading. Now, when you ask the question, when you value status over money, so I would tell you, here's the question you really got to ask yourself. Having kids, having 5-year-old twins who really don't get the concept of money.
How many
and
twins?
are 2 twins.
All right.
It's a double plural. But who really don't get, being able to interact with them daily and see their minds grow. Do you really think they look at you as an awesome father because of your money or because of your status? How well you treat them, how genuine you are, how authentic you are, how you make them feel. And to me, that's the status. And money doesn't make that. And as a trader, that's what you got to kind of keep your mindset on. Are you authentic? Do you follow the rules of those systems? Do you journal your trades? Do you identify your weaknesses as much as you identify your strengths? That's the status of the type of person you're going to be or trader you are. The money will follow. I promise you. The money will follow if you are a genuine, authentic person who's doing the right things at the right time and taking the losses when you got to take them and taking the profit when you need to take it. If you're chasing the money, I mean, one of the things that most millionaires or billionaires or any successful person is going to tell you, it's all in the mindset that matters. It's not the money. Because if you truly believe that you're going to accomplish something and on your way to that goal, you're humble, you're authentic, you are transparent, you're building a foundation that can't be broken. If you're doing it falsely, if you're doing it by cheating other people, I mean, we've discussed this before. Economic law finds equilibrium no matter what the case is. It's just like politically, I'm seeing these people supporting in the US, they're thinking about just paying everyone $2,000 a month and to stay on unemployment forever.
Universal basic income.
And I'm just like, are you kidding me? That's not the answer. Where's that money come from? And every time they print $2,000, it just devalues the dollar by $2,000.
Which punishes people who are savers.
Exactly. My biggest point I guess I'm trying to make is to be successful doesn't mean you're robbing success from someone else. One of the biggest points, I mean, our society today has made it like everything's a zero-sum game. And it's not. Okay, trading is when you win on the Euro GPY pair, someone else had to lose, right? But that someone else losing could have been an institution that just had to do business with those two currencies. That doesn't fall true with success. To be successful doesn't mean you need to rob it from someone else. And that's where a lot of people get this game wrong. You're not doing a disservice to society or anyone else to be successful, to have integrity and have pride and to work hard and to go get what you want. And for some reason these days, people think like if you're successful, you had to fuck someone else over. You had to rob someone else. And I can only put this in a form that we've all been told this by people positioning or boasting for a certain position, right? Politically, I will do what no one else has done for you. Those people that have been putting you down for years, I'm going to fight them. Why has anyone been putting you down but yourself?
It's hard to run. It's hard to run a platform against free.
Exactly. These feel good policies, right? Let's just dissect one. And I hate going into politics, but it's like, okay, let's look at the controversial, we need to raise minimum wage.
Which is a price floor, by the way.
Okay. So let's just dissect this. And, we're probably going to have some people who are against, who truly believe that raising minimum wage is the right thing to do because it feels good. And I'm not going to deny that. It feels good. And people on minimum wage who work these jobs, they deserve more, just like teachers deserve more. The good ones, I should say. Now, when we say stuff like minimum wage, let's raise it, it feels good. It on the surface feels like, yeah, you know what? I'm doing good in life and I give to charity and I do all these great things. Why doesn't someone who works at Taco Bell, who takes my order, they should make more than the minimum wage we have today because our cost of living has gone up, and it's easy to throw out these analytics like, well, the median house in Colorado is $450,000. So these people are missing out on home ownership and college education and all of these things that cost quite a bit here in America. Well, it feels good to just say raise the minimum wage so these people have a better chance. Well, it's not that easy. I mean, it feels good and we all support it. But if you really start to go deeper, okay, now that we raise the minimum wage, now these business owners that are providing these jobs, if you don't find a way to raise their revenue or profit margins to cover this raise, which no one wants to talk about, they're going to get creative. They're going to eliminate those jobs. So the very reasoning you had of raising to help these people, you just hurt them because now these jobs don't exist. They'll find another way to do these jobs. Now, let's use an example. Let's say I ran a t-shirt company. Let's say Day Trading Plumber got huge and people are like, hey man, I'll fucking buy t-shirts.
Oh, we're getting t-shirts.
Right. And Matt and I open a little warehouse here in Castle Rock. And we're like, hey man, if you want to pack these t-shirts in these boxes and put them on this truck, I'll pay you minimum wage because the law says I have to. And this feel-good policy comes down the pipe. And it's like, now you got to pay this person $10 more an hour. I'm going to be like, fuck it, dude. I'm going to load the trucks. I'm going to load them on my own because I was looking for some high school kids or some, someone to do this in the hours I needed it. But now I'll just figure it out.
Just do it myself or not do it at all.
So then now the people that have forced this wage on you see the problem. And now in the effort to help those same people, they're like, well, now we're going to mandate that the companies cannot eliminate your job. Right? Now we're stepping into the government's telling us how we have to run our business,
Controlling the means of production.
right? So now you can't eliminate those jobs and you have to pay them a certain wage. So then what? Clayton and Matt go, well, fuck. Now I guess I go bankrupt. That part of the business goes bankrupt. And then what? Now the bank that loaned us the money, they're in arms. So then what? The government goes, well, now we just got to run that business. And then it becomes a societal government ran, choosing what people do, what products they get. I mean, I really didn't want to go into politics, but look at the US education system. It's a perfect example, people. Teachers don't get paid shit. Half of them aren't even good teachers, but they have their tenure and they're in a union. And so therefore they're untouchable.
I wouldn't put it that high. It's not half. It's much lower.
Well, all right. 20%. Okay, to be fair. And then there's the 80% that are awesome teachers that really want to make a difference and teach our kids, but they're paralyzed. They don't have the funding, or, you know, and that's what we all hear is it's a funding problem. It's not a fucking funding problem. The US funds their education more than any other country in the world per student, but we score 40, the lowest. The problem is it's not a free market. It's not ran like any other business. Imagine if Amazon was owned by the government. Do you think you'd get your fucking package tomorrow? No. You would get it in 7 fucking weeks, and we'd have to accept that as the norm. And the people working there would be fucking way underpaid. And there'd be no competition. There'd be no efficiency.
I have to give a shout out to our boy Camilo. In well, let's just say he's east of us. Across the pond, across some land, across some more
very a successful business owner who's been affected by.
He taught me Forza. Do you know what Forza means?
Forza.
Forza.
It sounds like fuck off.
Sorry, Camilo, but Americans have to do it in an Italian accent. Forza. The only Italian accent we know is anything that came from Godfather,
or Sopranos,
or Goodfellas, or what?
Sopranos,
or Soprano.
It's
Italian for. It's Italian for come on, let's go get it. Forza.
Forza.
So thank you for Camilo for teaching me that. I'm also going to look up Oban, which is a nice scotch that he recommended. And I just wanted to get that out before we sign off.
Yeah, I mean, sorry guys, I went on a little bit of a tangent, but I don't want to see opportunities for people like us traders taking away in times like this. I don't want to see more regulations, more need. It just disgusts me. It disgusts me that people are willing to give up their freedoms and rights right now and rely on our government. We don't need to rely on anyone. What we need to rely on is our own brains, our own wits, and our own abilities to overcome challenges. And there's times where it seems overwhelming. Like me personally, like I've shared tonight, you're getting divorced. Your kids you're not going to have every day with your kids. You're separating 10, 20 years of all of the successes you've had. And, now you're faced with, how do I make that back? But I will tell you guys, I'd much rather go through that hardship, much rather put my brain to work and figure that out than give up and tell someone I need to rely on you. And all we're doing here in America currently, when we ask for our government to bail us out or make it easier for us, we're handing over power. We're handing over our ability to make our own decisions. And I'm going to end it on that. And if you hate me, you hate me, but stay out of my way, stay out of my pocket, stay out of my gun safe, and I'll be okay.
I may even defend you. Thank you very much for listening. Please join us next week.
Over and out.